I was tough when I was 6, and now that I'm 83, I'm going to continue to be tough until the good Lord sends one.
Maureen O'Hara couldn't stand him. She despised him more than anyone in Hollywood. Born Maureen Fitzsimons on August 17, 1920, in a quiet Dublin suburb, this fiery redhead came into the world already blazing with spirit. Her Irish roots ran deep, and from an early age, her family pushed her to embrace creativity, pride, and passion. Little Maureen wasn't one to sit still. Her heart belonged to the stage, and she chased that dream like it was her destiny. She trained at the Abbey Theatre, Ireland's national theatre, where she worked like a fighter in training, perfecting drama, voice and poise with razor-sharp focus. Every performance she gave hinted that this girl wasn't just talented, she was born for greatness. With her striking red hair, flawless complexion, and piercing green eyes, O'Hara's beauty practically set the screen on fire. When Technicolor hit the scene, she didn't just shine, she exploded across the screen like pure flame. Her big break came in the late 1930s when the legendary Charles Laughton spotted her talent and couldn't look away. He saw her raw power and undeniable confidence, instantly signing her to his production company. Soon after, she starred in Jamaica Inn, 1939, directed by none other than Alfred Hitchcock himself. That movie didn't just launch her career, it made the world stop and notice. And that same year, she took on the role of Esmeralda in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, alongside Laughton's unforgettable Quasimodo, cementing her as a new force in Hollywood. O'Hara's move from British cinema to Hollywood was smooth, like fate had already paved the way. Once she hit the big leagues, there was no turning back. Audiences couldn't get enough. Her looks drew them in, but her fire, intelligence, and boldness kept them hooked. While other actresses were being boxed into damsel in distress roles, O'Hara flipped the script, bringing strength, sass, and independence to every character she touched. She refused to play weak women, ever. Every role she chose showed power, grit, and heart. Her performances in How Green Was My Valley, 1941, The Black Swan, 1942, and Sinbad the Sailor, 1947, showed off her incredible range and intensity. When How Green Was My Valley snagged the Academy Award for Best Picture, it was proof. Maureen O'Hara wasn't just another starlet, she was Hollywood royalty. And when it came to collaborations, no one lit up the screen like O'Hara did with director John Ford and her most iconic partner, John Wayne. Their chemistry was electric. Every look, every argument, every touch sparked real emotion. Together, they gave the world unforgettable hits like Rio Grande, 1950, The Quiet Man, 1952, and McClintock, 1963. But The Quiet Man, that was their masterpiece. As Mary-Kate Danaher, O'Hara poured every ounce of Irish pride and passion into her role. She was fierce, bold, and breathtaking, commanding every scene with pure fire. That performance didn't just define her, it turned her into a legend. Every glare, every tear, every laugh felt real, leaving a mark that still stirs audiences even now. Off-screen, Maureen O'Hara was just as tough and unstoppable. In an industry that tried to mold its stars into perfect puppets, she refused to bow down. She demanded respect, fought for fair treatment, and kept control over her image like a boss. Studios pushed her to take roles she found shallow, but she stood her ground every single time. She built her legacy on strength and self-respect, making it clear no one could intimidate Maureen O'Hara. Hollywood might have tried to change her, but she never changed herself. She held tight to her roots, her accent, and her pride. She once said, "I'm the only leading lady in Hollywood who can speak with an Irish accent and never had to lose it." That line wasn't just confidence. It was rebellion. Maureen O'Hara was more than a star. She was a force of nature who lived and worked on her own terms. As time went on, Maureen O'Hara didn't fade. She evolved. She refused to be boxed in by Hollywood's rules, choosing her film and TV roles with precision and pride. Every move she made screamed independence. Even while managing her family life, she dove headfirst into bold new ventures that shocked everyone. One of her wildest power moves? Running an airline with her third husband, Charles Blair, a decorated World War II pilot and fearless adventurer who matched her fiery energy every step of the way. Together, they weren't just partners. They were a high-flying empire of ambition and adrenaline, living life at full throttle. But in 1978, tragedy hit hard when Blair was killed in a plane crash. The loss tore her world apart, yet Maureen refused to let it break her. She rose through the grief, turning her pain into strength, and poured her soul into telling her story in an autobiography that left readers stunned. She didn't hold back. Every victory, every heartbreak, every fight for respect was laid bare. That book wasn't just her life story. It was proof that Maureen O'Hara was a woman who lived without fear. Then, in 2014, Hollywood finally stood up and gave her the respect she had long earned. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences awarded her an honorary Oscar for her lifetime of cinematic brilliance. When she walked onto that stage, graceful, glowing, and every bit the legend she'd always been, the entire audience went silent. It wasn't just applause, it was awe. Decades later, that same fire still burned bright in her eyes. Her unshakable strength had been with her from the very start. Back in 1939, at just 19 years old, she shocked everyone by secretly marrying English film producer George H. Brown. They met while filming Alfred Hitchcock's Jamaica Inn, and the connection was instant, fast, fiery, and impossible to ignore. But Hollywood's pressure and the whirlwind of young fame quickly took their toll. The marriage, built on impulse and passion, fell apart, and by 1941 it was annulled. It hurt, but it also hardened her spirit. That heartbreak didn't keep her down for long. Later that same year, O'Hara found herself in another love story, this time with American film director William Houston Price. Their connection began while working on Dance, Girl, Dance, and for a while, it seemed like real love had finally found her. But behind the glamour, darker struggles began to surface. Price battled severe alcoholism, and the weight of that fight grew heavier with each passing year. In the midst of it all, though, came her greatest blessing, her daughter, Bronwyn Bridget Price, born on June 30th, 1944. Becoming a mother changed everything. Maureen poured her entire soul into raising Bronwyn, every ounce of her strength, every bit of her love. She built a world for her daughter filled with laughter, warmth, and hope, even while her marriage quietly crumbled behind the scenes. The tension at home grew unbearable, and the man she once loved was being consumed by his own demons. But Maureen never lost her composure. She stood tall, determined to protect her child no matter what. In 1953, Maureen O'Hara stepped into a whole new chapter, one overflowing with fire, class, and high society flair. That's when she met Enrique Parra, a wealthy Mexican banker and powerful political figure who swept her off her feet like something straight out of a movie. Their romance burned bright for nearly 15 years, becoming one of the most glamorous and emotional relationships of her life. With Parra, O'Hara entered a dazzling world of luxury, diplomacy, and mystery, a world that thrilled her wild, adventurous heart. Parra was magnetic, smooth, and full of confidence, the perfect match for Maureen's bold and fearless energy. Together, they were unstoppable. They floated through lavish parties, exclusive galas, and global events where the elite gathered, always turning heads wherever they went. Their chemistry was undeniable, their bond full of intensity and sophistication. Though they never tied the knot, what they had was real, built on mutual respect, affection, and deep understanding. But like so many great love stories, time and distance started to pull them apart. fame, cultural gaps, and the pressures of public life eventually forced them to part ways. Still, there was no bitterness, no scandal, no hate. O'Hara always spoke of Parra with warmth, saying their love had shaped her in ways that never faded. Then came 1968, the year that changed everything. At 48 years old, O'Hara met the man who would become the true love of her life, Charles F. Blair, Jr. This wasn't some Hollywood romance, it was destiny. Blair wasn't just any man. He was a U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, a decorated war hero, and a pioneer of transatlantic flight. On top of all that, he worked as Pan American World Airways chief pilot and later founded Antilles Airboats, a daring seaplane company that soared across the Caribbean skies. From the moment they met, sparks flew. O'Hara was instantly drawn to his brilliance, courage, and fearless energy. It mirrored her own. Together, they were a powerhouse, two strong, passionate souls who understood adventure better than anyone else. Their marriage wasn't built on fame or flashy headlines. It was about real partnership, laughter, and peace. For the first time, O'Hara found someone who grounded her, someone who encouraged her to live freely, away from the demanding spotlight of Hollywood, and that's exactly what she did. After years of non-stop filming, Maureen O'Hara finally stepped away from the chaos of the movie world and embraced a new life filled with purpose and serenity. She threw herself into Blair's aviation dreams, supporting his company with pride and excitement. Life with him gave her something fame never could: freedom. After decades of lights, scripts, and camera flashes, O'Hara found pure happiness in the simple beauty of love and quiet living. Their paradise was in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a sun-soaked escape where the ocean whispered peace and the days moved slower. Together, they built a home filled with laughter, love, and fresh sea air, finally free from Hollywood's noise and pressure. It was the calm she'd earned after a lifetime of storms. But in 1978, that peace was shattered in an instant. 10 years into their beautiful marriage, tragedy struck when Blair was killed in a plane crash while piloting one of his own seaplanes. The loss was crushing. O'Hara's heart was completely broken. As if fate hadn't already dealt her enough pain, that same year she faced another devastating challenge. She was diagnosed with uterine cancer. The fear was real, but Maureen O'Hara wasn't the type to surrender. With fierce courage and that legendary Irish strength, she fought through surgery and recovery, refusing to give up. Against every odd, she pulled through, stronger than ever. It was another reminder of what made her extraordinary. Her resilience, her fire, and her unstoppable will to survive. Nothing, not heartbreak, not tragedy, not illness, could ever dim Maureen O'Hara's spirit. After Charles Blair's death, life slowed down for Maureen O'Hara, but it didn't stop. Those years were quieter, filled with heartbreak, reflection, and an unshakable kind of strength that only real pain can build. She carried Blair's memory everywhere she went, keeping his love close like armor. The fiery redhead who once lit up Hollywood now burned with a different kind of fire, one fueled by endurance and wisdom. To the world, she was still a legend. But to those who truly knew her, Maureen O'Hara was something far greater. A survivor with a spirit that refused to fade. Even as she grieved, O'Hara never stopped standing up for what was right. She had always been bold, but now she was fearless. Long before public outrage ever touched Hollywood, she was already challenging the dark side of the system, the parts no one dared to mention out loud. When actresses were told to smile and stay quiet, O'Hara spoke up. She exposed the hidden abuse and manipulation that powerful men used to control careers, risking her own fame to tell the truth. Her bravery was decades ahead of its time. Before words like accountability and exposure became headlines, she was already fighting for fairness and respect. Her courage rattled the very foundations of old Hollywood's corrupt glamour. People whispered, studios panicked, But O'Hara didn't care. She wasn't there to play games. She was there to make a difference. Her honesty and defiance cracked open the facade of an industry that had been untouchable for too long. She didn't sugarcoat a thing. In 1957, during one brutally honest interview, she blew the lid off the infamous casting couch culture that had haunted Hollywood for decades. She spoke out about being insulted, humiliated, and even blacklisted, all because she refused to let powerful producers cross boundaries. Her words shook the industry like an earthquake. Back then, no woman was supposed to speak that truth. But Maureen O'Hara was never one to stay silent when something was wrong. And yes, she paid a heavy price. Opportunities slowed, roles disappeared. While others climbed the ladder by keeping quiet, she faced the fallout with her chin held high. Still, she kept working with Hollywood's elite, directors like John Ford and co-stars like John Wayne and Tyrone Power. Even while surrounded by glitz and fame, she carried her scars quietly, transforming her pain into strength. She used her voice not to destroy, but to stand tall, proving that integrity could outshine fear. In her later years, O'Hara became even more outspoken. Through interviews and her memoir, she told her truth with no filter, calling out bad behavior wherever she saw it. She didn't hide behind polite words or vague hints. She named names. One of her most complex and revealing confessions centered around her stormy professional relationship with legendary director John Ford, a bond that blurred the line between genius, tension, and obsession. John Ford, one of Hollywood's greats, a man whose films like Stagecoach, The Grapes of Wrath, and The Searchers shaped American cinema forever. On set, his talent was unmatched, but behind the camera, he was volatile, unpredictable, and tormented by inner chaos. He could go from charming to cruel in seconds, and O'Hara saw that transformation up close. She admired his brilliance, but also witnessed his darkest sides, the moods, the outbursts, and the cruelty that came with his genius. Together, they made movie history, none more iconic than The Quiet Man, 1952. On screen, their work was magic, Irish romance, passion, and chemistry so real it left audiences breathless. But behind the scenes, it was a storm brewing. Years later, O'Hara pulled back the curtain and told what really went down, and it shocked everyone. She described how Ford's behavior crossed professional boundaries, how his obsession with her seemed to twist between admiration and resentment. At times, he humiliated her in front of cast and crew, lashing out with words that cut deep. He was unpredictable, consumed by emotions he didn't know how to control. O'Hara believed Ford's strict upbringing and personal repression turned his admiration into something darker. Anger he couldn't explain, so he wielded power instead. In one of her most disturbing memories, O'Hara revealed that Ford had once slapped her on set, claiming it was to get a better performance from her. Even in that era, when such behavior was brushed off, it was an abuse of power. But Maureen O'Hara didn't take it, not for a second. She stood up to him right there in front of everyone and made it clear she wouldn't be disrespected by anyone, no matter how powerful they were. That single act of defiance sent a shock through the set. It changed the way people saw her forever. Ford didn't know how to handle her strength. Her courage both infuriated and fascinated him. She became the only actor who could look him straight in the eye without flinching, and that made her both his challenge and his inspiration. O'Hara later said that Ford respected her deeply, even if he could never bring himself to admit it out loud. Their relationship became one of the most complicated partnerships in film history, built on mutual genius and emotional warfare. When O'Hara finally went public with her experiences, it wasn't to destroy John Ford. It was to tell the truth. She described him as a man torn apart by his own demons, capable of creating beauty on film while battling chaos within himself. Her words weren't spiteful. They were honest. She saw him clearly, a man of greatness and pain, whose temper and pride often overshadowed his humanity. That honesty gave her story weight. It wasn't gossip, it was insight. But her revelations didn't stop there. O'Hara also spoke about the price women paid for standing up to Hollywood's unwritten rules. She admitted she had turned down inappropriate advances that could have boosted her career, but she didn't care. She knew her worth. When powerful men warned her that she'd never work again if she didn't go along, she called their bluff. She refused to trade dignity for fame, ever. Maureen O'Hara's story wasn't just about beauty, fame, or talent. It was about backbone. She proved that a woman could be bold, talented, and unbreakable all at once. While others bowed to the system, she rewrote the rules just by being herself, proud, fearless, and impossible to silence. Even in the face of cruelty and corruption, O'Hara stood tall, reminding everyone that true power doesn't come from control. It comes from courage. When Maureen O'Hara spoke, people listened. Some in the press were shocked by her boldness, but many admired her courage. Her words carried the same strength that made her a star, direct, fearless, and impossible to ignore. Raised in Ireland with deep Catholic values that taught her dignity and pride, O'Hara brought those lessons straight to Hollywood, and not once did fame make her forget who she was. Even when the film industry tried to punish her for speaking her mind, she stood tall and never backed down. O'Hara chose her roles carefully, always picking characters that mirrored her own fire. Strong women who refused to be silenced, mothers who fought for what mattered, and heroines who knew their worth. Her performances in The Quiet Man, Miracle on 34th Street, and How Green Was My Valley weren't just acting. They were pure reflections of her own spirit. Every look, every line, every scene burned with pride and conviction. Maureen O'Hara demanded fairness and respect long before it became common in Hollywood. In an age when actresses were told to smile and obey, she rewrote the rules and spoke her truth without apology. That courage made her revolutionary. Her independence didn't just protect her, it paved the way for generations of women after her. She took the blows, paid the price, and still came out on top, with her head high and her heart unshaken. Long before hashtags and headlines, O'Hara was already doing what many would only dare decades later. She was one of the earliest voices to challenge Hollywood's silent culture of abuse and inequality. While others stayed quiet out of fear, she stood up and said, "Enough." Her defiance became a symbol of integrity, even when people in power tried to shut her down. And when history finally caught up, the world realized Maureen O'Hara had been right all along. As time went on and the hashtag #MeToo era arrived, her story became even more powerful. What she fought for in the shadows was now front and center. She had lived the very battles that modern women in Hollywood were still fighting decades before it was safe to do so. When others called her difficult, the truth was simple. She was just brave. Her voice, once dismissed, became one of the earliest sparks that lit the fire for change. By the time Hollywood began to face its own truth, Maureen O'Hara had already found peace and the recognition she so deeply deserved. She wasn't just remembered for her breathtaking performances, but for her unshakable backbone and moral strength. She had spent her entire life living on her own terms, never bending, never selling out, and never letting anyone dictate her worth. Her legacy went far beyond the screen. It became a symbol of what real power looks like. She taught the world that success means nothing without integrity, and fame means nothing without self-respect. On October 24, 2015, Maureen O'Hara passed away peacefully in her sleep at her home in Boise, Idaho, at the age of 95. Her passing marked the end of an extraordinary era, a century of fire, art, and unapologetic truth. She left behind not just films, but a message that still roars today. Real strength is living with courage, honesty, and unbreakable pride. Even long after the cameras stopped rolling, her legacy kept shining bright. With that fiery red hair, commanding gaze, and fearless performances, she carved out her place as one of Hollywood's true icons. Her classics, The Quiet Man, How Green Was My Valley, and Miracle on 34th Street, remain timeless proof of her brilliance. Each film still carries that unmistakable O'Hara energy. Elegance with an edge, grace with grit, beauty wrapped in power. Even as the years went by, she never lost that spark. She stayed strong, dignified, and proud, a living symbol of resilience. When she retired in the 1970s, it wasn't because she faded, it was because she chose peace. She stepped back from the spotlight, spending her days surrounded by family, love, and the quiet joy she had earned after a lifetime of standing her ground. But her influence didn't retire with her. It spread, inspiring generations of women to take charge of their stories and never let anyone silence their truth. When Maureen O'Hara passed, she was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia, a resting place as grand and honorable as the life she lived. There she was reunited with her beloved husband, Charles Blair, the fearless pilot who had been her partner in adventure and in life. His death in 1978 left a scar she carried forever, but being buried beside him was her final love story, sealed for eternity. In the end, O'Hara didn't just rest beside a man. She joined a legacy built on courage, honor, and devotion. Her final chapter was everything she stood for: loyalty, pride, and an unbreakable will. Maureen O'Hara lived boldly, loved deeply, and fought fiercely. And her story still inspires anyone who's ever refused to back down. Her flame may have dimmed in life, but her legacy still burns with unstoppable fire. If you loved this deep dive into the incredible life of Maureen O'Hara, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating Hollywood stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.